There are several methods in the Dharma of reciting the Buddha's name. 1. Mindfulness of the Buddha by holding his name. You can recite the name of whichever Buddha you like. For instance, if you like Amitabha Buddha, you can recite Namo Amitabha Buddha, or perhaps you like to recite Namo our original teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Maybe you want to recite Namo Medicine Master Buddha who dispels calamities and lengthens life. It's the same with any Buddha throughout the 10 directions. You can recite any name you wish. The object of being mindful of the Buddha is to consolidate your thoughts into one thought of mindfulness of the Buddha, to dispense with all other false thoughts. If you don't have extraneous thoughts, you will not give rise to evil thoughts, and when you don't give rise to evil, you are on the road to good. 2. Mindfulness of the Buddha by contemplating. You consider how Amitabha Buddha has a wide ray of light that shines between his brows. The line of a verse in his praise says, his wide ray of light comes as high as 5 Mount Sumerus. The verse goes on, his violet eyes are as large as the four seas. Can you imagine that? If you are small-minded, then your idea of the Buddha will be fairly small when you consider him. If you have a vast state of mind, then your conception of him can be monumental. 3. Mindfulness of the Buddha by contemplating an image. In this method, you look upon an image of Amitabha Buddha while you recite, and as you are mindful of the Buddha, you reflect on his adorned appearance and characteristics. But I'll tell you, it can even happen that you become possessed by a demon when being mindful of the Buddha. In general, no matter what practice you do, you must have some virtuous conduct, some virtue in the way. When I was in Hong Kong at Taoyu Mountain, at Tila Sing Temple, a bhikshu wanted to do a standing Buddha session. In this practice, one stays in one room and walks continually, and so it is called the continuous walking samadhi, and also the standing Buddha samadhi. For 90 days, one walks in a room without sitting, lying down, or going to sleep. This is a Dharma of particular vigor. That bhikshu was being mindful of the Buddha while he practiced his Dharma of continuous walking. One day I noticed that the more he recited, the louder he became until he was bellowing, Namo Amitabha Buddha, Namo Amitabha Buddha. When I heard him reciting that way, I knew he had entered some state, so I went to take a look. He was running around the room reciting like mad. What had happened? In a past life, this bhikshu had been an ox. Since he had performed some merit at a temple by blowing the fuse, he had become a monk in this life. However, although he was a monk and his ox-like habits hadn't changed yet, he had a terrific temper. The reason he was running around the room when I found him was that he had seen Amitabha Buddha come, and he was chasing him. What was actually going on? He'd gotten into a demonic state. It wasn't really Amitabha Buddha who had come. It was a water buffalo that had come up out of the sea. This weird water buffalo had transformed itself into an appearance of Amitabha Buddha in order to dupe the monk. The monk thought it was Amitabha Buddha who had come, and so he went running after him. When I got there, I made use of a Dharma and broke up his demonic state. So sometimes you can even be possessed by demons when reciting the Buddha's name. 4. Mindfulness of the Buddha in his actual appearance. This means investigating dhyana. Visit and pursue the topic who is mindful of the Buddha. Now in this passage of text, the person who always remembers in the Buddha and the person who never remembers is we living beings. If two such people were to meet, Even if they were to see each other, they would not take notice. Even if they should encounter each other, it would be just as if they hadn't met. Maybe they see each other at some place or other, but their lives don't unite, their energies don't interact because one person remembers but the other one doesn't. They can't get together. Even if they were face to face, it would be as if they were not. Sutra. If two people remember each other until the memory of each is deep, then in life after life they will be together like a form and its shadow, and they will never be at odds. Commentary. If two people remember each other until the memory of each is deep, if they remember each other very well, then in life after life they will be together like a form and its shadow, and they will never be at odds. Your shadow follows you everywhere and never leaves you. These two people will be that way and will never be at odds. They will never fail to recognize each other or have a feeling falling out. Sutra. Out of pity for living beings, the first commons of the 10 directions are mindful of them as a mother remembers her child. If the child runs away, of what use is the mother's regard? But if the child remembers his mother in the same way that the mother remembers the child, then in life after life the mother and child will not be far apart. Commentary. Out of pity for living beings, the first commons of the 10 directions are mindful of them as a mother remembers her child. The Buddhas of the 10 directions have a sympathetic regard for living beings in the same way that a mother has regard for her child. If the child runs away, of what use is the mother's regard? Although the mother thinks about him all the time, is of no benefit. But if the child remembers his mother in the same way that the mother remembers the child, then in life after life the mother and child will not be far apart. If they remember each other in the same way, then the mother and child will be together life after life. They won't be separated from each other. That is to say, if the Buddhas are mindful of us living beings, and if we living beings are also mindful of the Buddhas, then for life after life, we will not be separated from them. We will be together. Sutra. If living beings remember the Buddha and are mindful of the Buddha, certainly they will see the Buddha now or in the future. Commentary. If they have a memory of the Buddha and they recite the Buddha's name, it's for sure they can see the Buddha either in this life or in a future life. Sutra. They will never be far from the Buddha and their minds will awaken by themselves without the aid of experience. Commentary. They will become enlightened. Sutra. A person who has been near incense will carry a fragrance on his person. It is the same in this case. It is called an adornment of fragrant light. Commentary. A person who has been near incense will carry a fragrance on his person. If someone is permeated with the fragrance of incense, a fragrance will linger around his body. It is the same in this case. It is called an adornment of fragrant light. Sutra. On the causal ground, I used mindfulness of the Buddha to enter into patience with the non-production of dharmas. Now in this world, I gather in all those who are mindful of the Buddha and bring them back to the Pure Land. Commentary. On the causal ground, I used mindfulness of the Buddha to enter into patience with the non-production of dharmas. Great strength Bodhisattva says that on the causal ground, that is, when he had first brought forth the resolve to cultivate the way as a bhikshu, he obtained the patience with the non-production of dharmas by reciting the Buddha's name. Now in this world, the Saha world, I gather in all those who are mindful of the Buddha, just as a magnet collects iron filings. Great strength Bodhisattva receives and gathers in all beings who practice mindfulness of the Buddha and brings them back to the Pure Land. He takes them to the land of ultimate bliss. Sutra, the Buddha asks about perfect penetration. I would select none other than gathering the six organs through continuous pure mindfulness to obtain samadhi. This is the foremost method. Commentary. Now the Buddha asks about the Dharma door of perfect penetration. I would select none other than gathering the six organs through continuous pure mindfulness. I have no other choice. I have only the Dharma door of mindfulness of the Buddha. I used this Dharma door to gather in the six sense organs and the false thinking that arises from them. I controlled the six sense organs so they did not create false thinking. I recited so the pure mindfulness of the Buddha continued uninterrupted until I obtained that kind of samadhi. This is the foremost method. This is the best Dharma door. The ear organ, Volume 5, Chapter 2, Quanxin Bodhisattva. Sutra. Then Quanxin Bodhisattva arose from his seat, bowed at the Buddha's feet, and said to the Buddha. Commentary. Above, great strength Bodhisattva told how he cultivated the Dharma door of mindfulness of the Buddha, which is a very appropriate method for people in this day and age. It's quite effective. Why? The sutras tell us that in the Dharma Ending Age, not even 1 in a million people who cultivate will attain the way. That many people cultivate and don't even one person among them attains to the way. Then what shall we do? Don't worry. It goes on to say, only by mindfulness of the Buddha are they taken across. The Dharma door of reciting the Buddha's name is very easy. With the Dharma door of mindfulness of the Buddha, one transcends the three realms through the side door horizontally and carries one's karma into that rebirth. What does it mean to transcend the three realms through the side door? It's like an insect in a piece of bamboo. If the insect were to gnaw its way out through the length of the bamboo, it would have to go through all the sections. It would take a long time. If the insect were to gnaw a hole in the side of the bamboo instead, it would get out very easily. People who are mindful of the Buddha are like the insect who goes out the side of the bamboo. They escape the three realms on the horizontal plane, right at the level they are. One carries one's karma into that rebirth. The karma one carries is former karma, not current karma. It is old karma, not new karma. This means that before you understood the method of being mindful of the Buddha, you created offenses. You can take that karma with you when you go to rebirth in a pure land. But you shouldn't continue to create bad karma once you know about reciting the Buddha's name, because you can't take that karma alone. Once you know about mindfulness of the Buddha, you should change your ways. Don't keep creating bad karma. If you do, you will be piling karma on top of karma, adding offenses to offenses. That's called knowing clearly and transgressing intentionally, in which case the offenses are tripled. You can take your old karma with you, but now that you understand the Buddha Dharma, you can't say, oh, I can recite the Buddha's name on the one hand and create bad karma on the other hand, because in the future I can take my karma with me to the land of ultimate bliss. That's a mistake. Not only will you be unable to take that karma with you, you won't be able to be reborn there at all because you'll be hindered by your karma. We people who believe in the Buddha should take care not to create any further offenses once we know about the mindfulness of the Buddha. This section of text concerning great strength Bodhisattva's perfect penetration through mindfulness of the Buddha is extremely important. Everyone should know that the Dharma door of mindfulness of the Buddha is all about. Why should we be mindful of the Buddha? Because we have great causes and conditions with Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha became a Buddha 10 kalpas ago. Before that, he was called Bhikshu Dharmachari. At that time, he made 48 great vows. In making his 13th and 14th vows, he said, "If the living beings throughout the 10 directions say my name and do not become Buddhas, I will not attain the right enlightenment." In other words, if people who recite his name do not become Buddhas, he will not become Buddha. And because of the power of Amitabha Buddha's vows, everyone who recites his name can get reborn in the land of ultimate bliss. The Pure Land Dharma comprises one of the 5 schools of Chinese Buddhism: the Chen School, Dhyana, the Teaching School, the Vinaya School, the Secret School, the Pure Land School. The Pure Land sect will be the last of the 5 to endure. In this world, during the Dharma Ending Age, the Shurangama Sutra will be the first sutra to disappear. After that, the other sutras will disappear also until only the Amitabha Sutra is left. While the Amitabha Sutra remains in the world, it will take many people across. After another 100 years, it will also be gone. Dharma ending simply means that the Dharma will entirely disappear. Once the Amitabha Sutra has vanished, all that will be left will be the phrase Namo Amitabha Buddha. This tremendous phrase will also take many people across. Then after another 100 years, it too will disappear. All that will be left then will be the name Amitabha Buddha, which will remain in the world yet another 100 years and then vanish as well. At that point, there will be no Buddha Dharma remaining in the world, while we are still at the advent of the Dharma Ending Age. We should practice and uphold the events of the Proper Dharma Age. That's called requesting that the Buddhas dwell in the world to turn the Dharma wheel. In the Dharma Ending Age, we should not fear any suffering or difficulty. I don't fear the trouble of lecturing the sutra for you, and you should not fear the trouble of coming to listen. Strike up your spirits. Don't say you're tired and have to go rest. Forget yourself for the sake of the Dharma. Take a look at how Shakyamuni Buddha dwelt in the snowy mountains for 6 years for the sake of seeking the Dharma. We haven't gone to the mountains for 6 years, but the least we can do is investigate Buddhism. Take the Buddha Dharma as you would food to eat. If I don't get to hear the sutra lecture, it'd be like not getting to eat for several days. That should be your attitude. I must hear the Dharma. I will certainly work to understand it truly. Where do you go to gain genuine understanding of the Buddha Dharma? You listen to a lot of sutras. Without hearing the sutras, you will be unable to open your wisdom. This is especially true of the Shurangama Sutra, for it is the sutra that opens one's wisdom. Just take as an example this section of the method for obtaining perfect penetration, which the 25 sages are explaining. Some accomplished their cultivation by means of the firelight samadhi. Some reached success by cultivating the water contemplation samadhi. Some reached perfection by means of the wind, some from emptiness. Some cultivated their eyes and won success, and some used their ears. Each of the 6 sense organs was cultivated by one or another of them. Every one of the 18 realms was cultivated by someone. Hearing these principles, you should apply them to yourself. Through which sense organ should I cultivate? You ask. Don't be nervous. It is the very organ of the ear which Kuan Yin Bodhisattva used that is best for you. Kuan Yin Bodhisattva perfected his cultivation through the organ of the ear, and Ananda will follow him in cultivating the same method. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of former times have left us such a wonderful Dharma door that we should also follow the method of cultivating the organ of the ear to perfect penetration. This is the easiest method. Then Quan Yin Bodhisattva arose from his seat, bowed at the Buddha's feet, and said to the Buddha, Quan means to contemplate. Using the wisdom capable of contemplation, one contemplates the objective realm. With the capability of wisdom, one regards the state that is being contemplated. The wisdom capable of contemplation is inherent in the self-nature of Guanyin Bodhisattva. The objective realm which is contemplated is that of the sounds made by all living beings. You should look into the source of suffering, the source of happiness, the source of what is neither suffering nor happiness, the source of goodness, the source of evil, the source of truth, the source of falseness. Contemplate all kinds of sources. Shi is the world in the sense of time, the past, present, and future. Contemplate living beings' past causes and effects. Contemplate the karma that living beings are now creating. Contemplate the rewards and retributions that living beings will have to undergo in the future. Why is that person suffering so much? You reflect and then you realize, oh, in his last life, he was not filial to his parents and he wasn't kind to people in general. That's why this time his retribution is unfortunate. Contemplate all kinds of selves. Yin, Bodhisattva, means one who enlightens living creatures. It also means a living being with a great mind for the way. A bodhisattva is also known as an enlightened living being. That refers to his self-enlightenment. When we say he is one who enlightens living beings, we are referring to his enlightenment of others. Together, these mean he is an enlightened living being who wants to cause all living beings to become enlightened. What bodhisattvas do is enlighten themselves and enlighten others, benefit themselves and benefit others. You who study the Buddha Dharma should remember the definition of bodhisattva. Don't let it be like people who held a meeting of the United Sangha, but when someone asked them what Sangha meant, they were left speechless, inconceivable. Sutra, World Honored One. I remember when, as many kalpas ago as there are sands in the Ganges, there was a Buddha in the world named Contemplating the World's Sounds. It was under that Buddha that I brought forth the Buddhi resolve. That Buddha taught me to enter samadhi through the process of hearing and reflecting. Commentary. Quan Bodhisattva said to Shakyamuni Buddha, World Honored One, I remember when, as many kalpas ago as there are sands in the Ganges, passing back through an incredibly long time, unreckonable aeons as numerous as the Ganges sands, there was a Buddha in the world named Contemplating the World's Sounds. Contemplating the World's Sounds is the English translation of the name Quan Shi Yin. This is the Kuan Yin of old. That thus common Quan Shi Yin also cultivated perfect penetration by means of the organ of the ear. It was under that Buddha that I brought forth the Bodhi resolve. I resolved to attain the way of enlightenment. That Buddha taught me to enter samadhi through a process of hearing and reflecting. The Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, the Kuan Yin Buddha of old, taught him the process of hearing and reflecting. It is from the wisdom of hearing, the wisdom of reflecting, and the wisdom of cultivating that he entered samadhi. Here, reflection does not refer to the thinking of the sixth mind consciousness. Rather, it has the meaning of quiet consideration, the skill of Chen. Sutra. Initially, I entered the flow through hearing and forgot objective states. Since the sense objects and sense organs were quiet, the two characteristics of movement and stillness crystallized and did not arise. After that, gradually advancing, the hearing and what was heard both disappeared. Once the hearing was ended, there was nothing to rely on, and awareness and the objects of awareness became empty. When the emptiness of awareness reached an ultimate perfection, emptiness and what was being emptied then also ceased to be. Since production and extinction were gone, still extinction was revealed. Commentary. Initially, I entered the flow through hearing and forgot objective states. With the wisdom of hearing, one listens inside, not outside. Not tracing after the objects of sound means not following them out. Earlier, the text spoke of not following the six sense organs and not being turned by them. This is known as returning the hearing to hear the self-nature. Returning the hearing means not listening to external sounds, but turning back instead to hear your own self-nature. It means gathering in your body and mind. It means not seeking outside. Turn the light around and shine it within. Here the text says that Kwanshun Bodhisattva entered the flow, which means he returned and listened to the self-nature. Enter the flow of the Dharma nature of a sage. He forgot the objective states. All the dust, the defiling objects of the six sense objects as perceived by the six sense organs, was forgotten. Since the sense objects and sense organs were quiet, the two characteristics of movement and stillness crystallized and did not arise. The source of the six sense organs and six sense objects ceased to be. It was severed. Here he entered the flow of his own self-nature. When that happens, the self-nature is still and quiet. When this quietude reaches an ultimate point, the appearance of movement and stillness ceases as well. Basically, movement appears as movement and stillness as stillness. But now, although these two characteristics are as clear as crystal, they do not arise. After that, gradually advancing, the hearing and what was heard both disappeared, as this pure and clear state of quiet increased. As day by day it became more full and complete, the hearing that was capable of hearing the self-nature eventually disappeared. It too was gone. The ability to hear and the objects of hearing both vanished. The organ of the ear was capable of hearing, and the self-nature was what was being heard, but now they too were gone. Once the hearing was ended, there was nothing to rely on. Since the hearing nature was gone, there was no attachment. At that time, it was producing the mind that does not dwell anywhere. Awareness and the objects of awareness became empty. Even the perception of awareness vanished, was emptied out. When the emptiness of awareness reached an ultimate perfection, emptiness and what was being emptied then also ceased to be. The emptiness of the nature of awareness reached an ultimate state of perfection. Then the mind capable of creating vanished, as did the states that were made empty, so that then there wasn't even an emptiness. As long as emptiness remains, you're still attached to emptiness. But now for Kwanyin Bodhisattva, there wasn't even any emptiness. Since production and extinction were gone, still extinction was revealed. Since the mind subject to production and extinction vanished, the genuine bliss of still extinction manifested. That state is inexpressibly blissful. Sutra. Suddenly I transcended the mundane and transcendental worlds, and throughout the 10 directions, a perfect brightness prevailed. I obtained two supreme states. Commentary. When still extinction manifested, suddenly I transcended both the mundane and transcendental worlds. This refers to the world of sentience and the world of material objects. And throughout the 10 directions, a perfect brightness prevailed. He was united as one with the worlds of the 10 directions without any difficulty. I obtained two supreme states. Sutra. First, I was united above with the fundamental, wonderfully enlightened mind of all the Buddhas of the 10 directions, and I gained the strength of compassion equal to that of all the Buddhas, the first come ones. Commentary. His compassionate mind was exactly like the compassionate mind of all Buddhas. Sutra. Second, I was united below with all living beings in the six paths, and I gained a kind regard for all living beings equally. Commentary. Second, I was united below with all living beings in the six paths. What are the living beings in the six paths? Looked at the terms, look at in terms of a single person, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind are living beings in the six paths. They are the cycle of the six paths, as are forms, sounds, smells, tastes, objects of touch, and dharmas. These are also the revolutions of the six paths. They are the six paths of living beings in our own self-natures. There is a connection between these six paths within and the six paths outside. The external six paths are the paths of heavenly beings, asuras, people, animals, hungry ghosts, and dwellers in the hells. The category of asuras includes all beings who like to fight, asuras who use their pernicious natures beneficially join the armed services and protect the country. Asuras who use their propensity to fight in a bad way end up as thieves, robbers, and gunmen. Asuras may live in the heavens, among people, in the animal realm, or as ghosts. Sometimes asuras are counted as part of the three good paths, that is, the gods, asuras, and humans. Sometimes they are placed with the four evil destinies, that is, the hells, hungry ghosts, animals, and asuras. When you put them together, gods, humans, asuras, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell dwellers, you have the cycle of the six paths. The Buddhas are above Guanyin Bodhisattva. So the Bodhisattva says, I was united above with the compassion of all Buddhas. Beings in the six paths are at a lesser level than Guanyin Bodhisattva. So the Bodhisattva says, I was united below with beings in the six paths. Living beings, Chung Sheng, are defined as those born Sheng from a multitude Chung of conditions. There are many factors involved in the birth of beings. The Bodhisattva goes on, I was united with living beings and I gained a kind regard for all living beings equally. Beings contemplate and seek the kindness of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Sutra, World Honored One, because I served and made offerings to the First Come One, Kuan Yin, I received from the First Come One a transmission of the Vara Samadhi of all being like an illusion, as one becomes permitted with hearing and cultivates hearing. Because I gained a power of compassion identical with that of all Buddhas, the First Come Ones, I became accomplished in 32 response bodies and entered all lands. Commentary, World Honored One, because I served and made offerings to the First Come One, Kuan Yin, I received from that First Come One a transmission of the Vara Samadhi of all being like an illusion, as one becomes permitted with hearing and cultivates hearing. It is said to be like an illusion because one cultivates without cultivating. Without cultivating, one cultivates. It means that one is always aware of what is going on at any given moment and never forgets about it. And yet, though one does not forget, one does not really think about it either. Without thinking about it, one has nonetheless not forgotten it. Permitted with hearing means that every day he cultivated the method of returning the hearing to his self-nature until he was infused with skill. This is the method of the Vara Samadhi. When one succeeds in this concentration, one has attained the Vara Samadhi. Because I gained a power of compassion identical with that of all Buddhas, the First Come Ones, I became accomplished in 32 response bodies and entered all lands. I gained a compassionate power identical to the Buddhas, and it enabled me to make 32 transformation bodies out of my own body. Then I went to all countries to teach and transform living beings.